Dirty trucking. Oh man. While I got this on my mind, there's an episode on TV. Is this a show called Your Worst Nightmare? This is season 1, episode 1. And it's called Somebody's Watching. And this is about a lady. Somebody's been watching her, stalking her, been coming to her place, stole checks out the checkbooks because somebody wrote some checks. He was taking underwear and stuff like that. This is the same shit I reported here. Reported Detroit police, but they didn't do anything. Now, this happened to this woman, and shit, hell, she on TV. So, I say this, I brought this up because when I was on HBO, I told you they paid me for a little clip off one of my YouTubes about when I was at Western Express. And they had paid me for it. And I kept that check. And after I cashed it, I put void on it. And I kept it. I was going to keep it as my first paid TV gig check. Tell me why I go in the closet where I had it at. It's not in there. It's not in there. I can't find that check. It's not in there. Now, I done completely cleaned out the bedroom. I done threw out the box that it was in. It was in a box that had all them DVDs in it back when we had a DVD player. Because I had a whole U-Haul box full of DVDs. I threw out. It ain't in there. I done went through everything that was in there. The old purses, and I threw away purses, everything. It ain't in there. The stuff that was laying around on the floor in the room. The old purses laying in there. It ain't in there. I thought maybe I stuck it behind one of my high school classmate pictures I had on my cocktail table. So I took the pictures out and bust the frames up and threw the frames away. It ain't in there. What happened to the check? It was a check that was mailed to me from New York for being on the show HBO. It had the word void on it. Because I write void on it when you screenshot your check and put it in your bank. I put void on it. But I was going to keep it. That was my first paid TV gig off a clip. Until they found out I made that clip. And then you want to spread around more rumors about me being crazy and shit. And so I didn't get no more offers from anybody else for doing stuff like that. And see, people need to be sued for that shit. People need to be sued for that shit. That was an excellent episode I was on last week tonight with John Oliver. That was an excellent trucking episode that he had did. And that was back in, I believe it was 2022. I was on that show, HBO. That episode aired in 22, I believe. So, but that's what smear campaigns does. And I've been experiencing that shit all my life, even before I got into trucking. Smear campaigns. Every time it looked like I was about to be able to do something or get something, here come the smear campaigns. They need to make a law against these people that are making smear campaigns. You doing it to prevent that individual that you smearing from obtaining something or achieving something. That's why you're doing it. Because you're jealous. You're envious. And while I'm on this video, I might as well go ahead and talk about calling my relatives down south. Now, we had some land down there. We were supposed to have 100 acres of land down there in Mississippi. Because I done made videos about we got 100 acres of land down there. And my grandmother, there was a U.S. highway in Mississippi named after my grandmother. The Winnie Frost Memorial Highway. If you ever crossing through Mississippi and you own that highway, if that's a highway for semis to go down, that's my grandmother. So, and it was dedicated by the senator's office, the Senate down there. She was dedicated. They did a whole dedication about it from what I heard. And, we supposed to have 100 acres down there. Far as I remember, far as I was growing up, my father said we had 100 acres down there. Now, I had the map of the property, and I had letters that they sent up here to my father after his mother died, which was my grandmother, and them finalizing everything after she passed. I don't remember her. My father told me he took me down there, and he always tell that story. I drove 986 miles down to Mississippi. He had me and my sister, and he said somebody, one of them was combing my hair too hard, and he said I got sick. He said I had got sick, and he said he didn't want me to go to the doctors down there, so he drove all the way back up here. So I don't remember my grandmother. I don't remember none of them until after my father passed. After that shit happened at Chrysler, and I ended up having to sell my house, and I had got that the money off the sale of the house, and I had just moved in that apartment over there on Shane, and I decided to take a trip. So the original trip was to go back to Cedar Point, because the first trip we made, I took my son to Cedar Point because we just went through a traumatic experience, and I'm trying to help him forget. He was still a minor, and trying to help him forget what just happened, how we just lost a home. We had to sell our house and all this shit. So it hadn't hit. The tragedy hadn't hit him yet. It became traumatic for him after we moved in that apartment on Shane and got actually evicted. And that was in '05. I don't even know if I made it in 2006 in that apartment, because that money from that check went real quick, and that was odd. But anyway, we're supposed to have 100 acres of land down there. And one of the relatives got together and said, that one of the relatives got together and said, we're going to go ahead and get an attorney, find all the heirs to the property. We're going to go ahead and sell the property. Because right now it just is, So this started back in 2017. 2017, I believe, that started, or maybe the year prior. I believe it was 2017. So they located some of the heirs. They had my sister number and all that. As far as I know, it was 100 acres. Now, I called down there 2 days ago to find out what happened with that, because I hadn't heard from nobody down there. Now, I thought it was since 2017. It really was, I think my last contact with anybody was probably 2021. I was still in Alden Towers then. That was probably the year prior before I moved here. I think it was 2021 or 2020, the last contact I had. So I want to say around 2021. I thought it was 2017. So I have the map. So the problem is, before I moved back into Alden Towers, I was in the Hibbert Apartments over there off of Jefferson, and I kept all my father's belongings, what last of it I had, before after I got evicted from Shane over there. So I kept the map, some of the letters that he received about the estate down there. And one of my sisters, Floretta, from New York, had mailed me a handwritten letter by my brother, Percy Jr., who I only had one memory of. And it was just been a family story circulating down. He was on his way somewhere and disappeared. Still to this day, I think he was killed in the military. And that's what I think happened. Because I remember as a kid going in the basement of our house on Leander, my father had one of those Army folded flags. You know how they fold a flag when they take it off the coffin. It was in the top drawer. And he had my brother's military trunk, his dog tags, and his military book down there. Because he was at Fort Knox. So, but last we heard, he was over in Germany somewhere. And that's who the owner of this Uber is. He's from Germany. This is a German-owned company. So, everybody thought he was just alive and just didn't want to be contacted or something. But I remember that flag in the drawer, because I remember picking it up and I started to unfold it, but I didn't. He had the triangle folded American flag in the top drawer. I think my brother may have been killed in the Army. I think he was on his way, or was in the Army, and he was in the Army on his way somewhere in the Army and got killed. I don't know, because we tried for years to try to find out what happened to him. My sister tried. Then I tried to find him. I put his name in, and it came up a Percy Morgan Jr. over in Germany. And I called somewhere. They told me to call the VA. They should have record on him. But I never did find anything out about him or what happened to him. But far as I know, I don't know why my father would have that flag in the drawer. But I do remember that. I remember the Army flag, the American flag that is draped over the coffins. It was the folded triangle one was in the top drawer. And my brother's name was Percy Morgan Jr. So, I actually have his birth certificate here too. Um, he actually graduated from the same high school, Kettering. I found that out. I found a site where I could research high school yearbooks, and I found a yearbook with my brother's picture in it. My brother actually graduated from Kettering High School, same high school I graduated from. So, long story short, we had a map of the property. They were about to divide the property up after my father's mother died. And all the heirs, original heirs, which would be my father, his brothers and sisters remaining, were supposed to pick their section on the land. They mailed this map up here, and I can close my eyes to this day and see my father sitting there with that map in front of him, getting ready to pick his section, put his name on the section. They were supposed to put their names on the section, and it was other family member names on sections on there. And there was a little church on there. On the property, they said my grandmother allowed a church to build on the property, to be on the property free of charge. But I just found out that church has since returned that section of land back to the family. But there was a church on the map. There was a little drawn church on the map that I had, that my father had. There was a church on the map. Everything was done in pencil. It was a church on there. And there were other family member names on there for sections of land that they had claimed that they wanted. Because they weren't selling it. They were just taking sections and they were going to just divide the sections up. And they do whatever they wanted with their own sections. But that fell through. For whatever reason, that didn't go through. And now the family, back in, I believe, 2017, tried to go ahead and get the land sold and find all the heirs and get the property divided up. And so that's why I called. But back to the map. The map, I had that over the Hibbert Towers. And the Hibbert is where this sofa got changed. And then that's where I had the letter from my brother. And my sister Floretta had actually also included a letter that she wanted me to give to one of her sons. I don't remember which one, which was my nephews, who I don't really know. I just know of them through family pictures and talking to them briefly. I was supposed to give the letter to one of them when she passed. And this dirty ass shit these motherfuckers been doing coming in my apartment. Not only did the handwritten letter that she sent me from my brother disappear, the letter that she told me to give to one of her sons at her passing was taken. And then I started going through other things. I pulled out the map to the property, and I noticed the map to the property had been changed. I no longer see the other relative names on there that I saw. It wasn't a whole lot. It was just a few. And that little church wasn't on the map anymore. The little church wasn't on the map anymore. I said, how the fuck this happened? They let me know they were switching shit. They did this. So I called down there to find out about the property, and they telling me we got 80 acres. Fuck you mean we got 80 acres? Far as I know about the property, we had 100 acres. And y'all told me it was 100 acres. Why are you saying it's now 80 acres? So I thought maybe they subtracted the land from whoever the other heirs is that picked the property, or maybe the church was sitting on. But the church only had what was it? It wasn't that many. I think it was an acre of land or something like that, they said. Now they talking about 80 acres. What are you talking about? Now you playing some fucking mind game with me? Far as I know, we had 100 acres of land down there in Laurel, Mississippi. So the relative that I was talking to informed me that the attorney that they had got, he was old and he was slow, and he was the one finding all the heirs to get this property done with. They were going to sell it and give the heirs all their portion. So the attorney's mother lived across the street from his office. And it was during COVID. His mother got COVID. So that process stopped. So we back to just having land. But he telling me 80 acres. I said, no, somebody pulling some bullshit. You ain't got no 80 acres down there. My father told me y'all had 100 acres. He said, I grew up on the property. It turned into a big back and forth. I ain't called down there for that. Then he was talking about my sister. I ain't called down there for that either. So I called my other relative, the one who actually paid for the attorney, because I want to hear him tell me, you tell me that we got 80 acres down there. So he come telling me, as far as I know, to grew up on the property, as far as I know, we got 80 acres. 80 acres? We supposed to have 100 acres. Where you getting 80 from? So he said, well, if you could find the other 20 acres. I don't know how the hell you ain't got the other 20 acres. The total of land down there was supposed to be 100 acres. That's what my father told me. That's what I've been saying. I've been saying that for years. You can't keep saying something over and over again for a year. For years. And then you turn around talking about we got 80 acres. Knowing I've been saying 100 acres. He talking about I must have thought. I ain't must have thought nothing. I know what the fuck I was told. And I know what the fuck they told me. They was telling me we had 100 acres down there. Now all of a sudden they done flipped the script talking about 20 acres. Less. We got 80 acres. What the fuck going on here? They came up here, they done switched the map. Now the map was from Saul Engineering down there. And my relative told me that place, that guy is still alive, that signed his name on this map up here. That company still exists down there. So that would explain how they would get another Saul map up here in my apartment without that church on it. Because that company still exists down there. And also, I had all the documents pertaining to when they were taking care of the land down there up here in the closet. So that would explain them having access to the court documents the way you could switch the acres that we had. You can just go ahead and put 20 acres less. As far as I know, we had 100 acres of land. I don't know what the fuck they talking about. I don't know if there's some fucking mind game shit. I don't know what the fuck going on here. All I know, that's what all that running in and out of my apartment was. And they changed that map of the land when I stayed in the Hibbert Towers. And they changed this fucking couch. So tell me how we go from 100 acres of land to now having 80, and they telling me if I can find the other 20. I'm trying to find something that says we have 100 acres of land. What the fuck going on here? What happened to the other 20 acres of land? Why the hell are they now trying to tell me we had only 80 when the story was 100? I was told 100. Then when they were picking the sections of the land, each heir was supposed to pick the section they wanted. My father was supposed to, he picked the section he was going to pick. My father was supposed to get 10 acres. That's what he told me. 10 acres. Some of the other family members were getting a little bit more, but he was got 10 acres. And my father was looking at the map and finna put his name on the map. And I remember that. Only name on that map now is one of my father's brothers is Jack. And there's a street down there named after him. That's the only name on the map. When I knew that map contained a picture of the church, not the picture, but it's all the stuff on there is in pencil. It was the church was on there in pencil, where the church was on the property. And then there was a couple of other family members had their names on that map. Now, I'm sitting up here with a map with only one family member name on it. I don't remember if my father wrote his name on there. I think he did. I don't remember. But I do remember there were more than one name on the map. It was more than one name. So that's what they've been doing. What happened to the other 20 acres of fucking land? Because my father's gone. All I know, he told us we had 100 acres of land. After he died and I got in touch with the family members down there, we had 100 acres of land. Now, when they started trying to sell the property and find all the heirs, now we got 80 acres of land. And the original documents that actually documented how many acres it was, I never really fully looked at it. The one that's filed in the courthouse. I didn't look at those. I'm just looking at them now. One of them says 40 acres, the other one says 39. So it's saying 79 acres. They saying we got 80. But we supposed to have 100. Now you see what they doing when they would come running in my apartment. These motherfuckers is stealing. And then did you steal 20 acres of land? Because I know damn well hell, I ain't gonna been around here over 20 years talking about we got 100 acres of land when it's only 80. Been talking to family members over the years saying 100 acres of land. And now you tell me 80? But now I'm looking at documents in there saying 79. They saying 80. My father told me 100. From what I remember is 100. And now they down there. This is what's going on. This shit they doing is stealing. You replace the map. You got somebody to replace the map. And they did that during the year that they started paying that attorney to find all the heirs so we can go ahead and do what they were going to do with that land. That's when the map got changed. Because you located the heirs and where they lived at. And they got somebody to change that map. This shit is illegal. You stealing. And if I find out that it truly was 100 acres, they need to go to jail for that goddamn shit. I was told it was 100 acres down there. We had 100 acres of land. They told me that. They told me that down there. Now they telling me 80 acres. Talking about 79, 80. They down there sounding confused. Second guessed. What you mean 79, 80? How you don't know? You down there. My father lived up here in Detroit. It was 100 acres of land. But the good thing I did, what this eviction is doing, I finally pulled all the papers out and finally sat down to read about my grandmother. Winnie Frost, married to only one man her entire life. One man bore 14 children. My father was the second from the baby. She was married to one man. They owned all that land down there until she died. And I'm looking at the estate papers. Now this is the way to check out. My grandmother died not on a damn thing on her estate or to that state. Now, she didn't have a whole lot of money saved. Whatever she had, they used for her funeral, and the rest was divided up between the rest of the remaining heirs. So it wasn't much. Now, that's the way to check out. So, that was my grandmother. Married to one man, had 14 children, was supposed to have 100 acres of land. Now they telling me 80, 79, 80. Died not owing no damn body. She let a church stay on the property. And they done named a highway after her. That's the way you go out. That's what I was supposed to be doing. But seems like they want to play a reverse game with me. You want me to check out on everything. You got me in horrendous debt. Now it sounds like you playing a game with how much land we had down there. And ain't nobody gonna be able to prove it because they just switched the documents. And they memories down there seem cloudy because now they second guessing themselves. They on the phone telling me 79, 80. How you confused? You called up here and told me we got 100 acres of land. I talked to them saying 100 acres of land. How the hell we go from 100 acres of land to fucking 80? But now, since my relative has told me that that company still exists down there, and that guy that signed this map that was signed back in 1985 is still alive, now I know how you were able to switch that map to an exact replica, because that company that made the original map that was sent up here still exists. This don't make no damn sense. Why are you switching documents? All that shit started after the family called me and told me they finna go ahead and get rid of this land. And they needed to find all the heirs. And that's the year, that was around the year, in an apartment I was staying in, when I discovered that map had been changed. After they started locating the heirs, because they had found me. Because I was already in touch with the relatives down there. Now you see why they keep running in and out of my apartment. They stealing our life. They stealing our documents. They changing shit. And goddamn. Now they're trying to make it sound like I'm confused. No, y'all told 100 acres is what my father said. You all said 100 acres. Far as I know, there was 100 acres. I ain't never heard shit about no 79, 80. Now, y'all, they sounded confused. Told me to call the courthouse. You call the courthouse. You down there. How the hell you down there and 20 acres of land, it disappeared? I don't know what the fuck going on here. They did that with my birth certificate when I was in high school. Not my birth certificate, my high school transcript. When they get my high school transcript, they had my birth date wrong. They had August 8th, 1970. And my birthday was August 7th. Now, we had requested I had got my high school transcript one time. I requested them. It had August 8th, 1970 on there as my birthday. Then I don't know if I lost it or I requested them again. I ended up going back up there requesting the transcripts again. Now my transcript said August 7th, 1970. Now this is long after I graduated. The first one said August 8th. Now this one saying August 7th. They've been doing this shit as far back as high school. What the fuck is going on with my family, about my family, that you've been switching and stealing shit? Now they down there talking about, well, at least we got 80 acres left. At least? What the fuck?